All right, covenants. Okay, what are the things we need to know about covenants? The concept of a covenant. Now, in Hebrew, the word for covenant is berith. Berith. And we are not sure of its origin. Maybe it has come from Akkadian language. It means a bond or pledge or between, respectively. These are the meaning, between two groups. Or it may be simply a noun form, that Hebrew word bara, or come from bara. I think it is, there is a great possibility that the word berith has come from bara, to cut. Why? Because in Hebrew, the expression is not really making a covenant. Making a covenant. That is not the expression. In Hebrew, the expression is cutting a covenant. That is the expression. Cutting a covenant, not making a treaty or making a covenant. They always say cut a covenant. That's a Hebrew expression. So the most familiar expression of this formal agreement used in the Old Testament is cutting a covenant, an expression that perhaps derives from the animals that were cut up in the formation of the agreement. We remember when we looked at Abrahamic covenant, we saw this, right? God told Abraham to dissect animals, and God walked in between the portions of this meat, right? So that is a system that they followed in the Old Testament, and especially in the A&E culture, right? So the reminder or droriters, it's the same thing, that the offender was to suffer the same fate as the animal if he elected not to honor the agreement. The idea is to cut a covenant. It means you make the treaty by cutting the animals. And the idea is that if you don't honor the covenants, if you don't obey the covenant, you will be like this animal, right? That is the idea. Okay, let's go to covenant times. Now, in A and E, when I say anyone, let me say one more time, right? Sorry. This is something that is repeated several times. A and E. What is A and E? Ancient Near East, right? In the land of Canaan, it's known as A and E, ancient Near East. There were three types of covenants, right? Three types of covenant. Number one is known as promissory or royal grant, suzerainty treaty, and the other one is parity covenant. So three, we already discussed about it, so I don't want to discuss again because this is come in the Pentateuch. All right, what is royal grant, promissory royal grant? What is that? This is a unilateral. What is the meaning of unilateral? So you know bilateral, right? If you listen to the news, oftentimes when our prime minister goes to another country, then they will say there were bilateral talks, bilateral agreements, right? This is agreement with two countries, bilateral. So unilateral means it is not big, it is not like two equal parties. So what is unilateral? So it is unilateral and unconditional self-obligation of a suzerain. What is suzerain? To the course of action in behalf of his vassals. Remember, suzerain and vassal. If you don't know the meaning, please check the dictionary, because I cannot explain the meaning in your language, right? Suzerain and vassal. Usually, suzerain is a kind of landlord, kind of lord, right? Vassal is his subjects. All right, at least if you know that one. Lord or a king. So that is a suzerain. Vassal means the subject who are under this landlord or whatever the lord he is. So What is a promissory royal grant covenant? It is a Lord promising something for his people, right? In this kind of covenant, only the suzerain must enter the agreement, right? Not anybody else. For example, here is maybe your prime minister comes to your area and say, I am going to build a bridge for you here across this river, right? I'm going to make, I'm going to sign a document and make a bridge for you. That will be a promissory royal grant covenant, promissory covenant, because people have nothing to do with it. The subjects have nothing to do with it. They are not paying money or anything. Of course, they're paying indirectly, but basically it is what the king does. So if you look at a Noahic covenant and some other, some of the Abrahamic covenant and Davidic covenants are example. Noahic covenant, Davidic covenant, Abrahamic covenant are examples of promissory royal grant covenant. So that's the first one. Second one, suzerainty treaty. Suzerainty treaty. This is a unilateral imposition by a suzerain to a course of action by his vassals. In this kind of covenant, vassals are obliged under oath to agree the terms of the treaty. The kind of covenant is reflected in the Mosaic and arguably the New Covenant, right? So in the most of the Aeonic treaties, suzerain's responsibilities, while sometimes delineated, were not truly obligatory, right? So this is the biblical idea. There is where biblical idea differs. So what is a suzerainty treaty? A king comes to a group of people and tells them, this is what you are going to do. You need to pay this much tax. These are the things you need to do. He imposed them to do certain things, right? And so that is what this. So that means a king to the this lower group of people. Someone who is a monarch comes and imposes his will to the people, and he will say, "This is what you have to do." Otherwise, remember. I know there were times I tried to heard the news was saying that when the ISIS captured good part of Syria, right? Good part of Syria, and what happened was that there were the command was that only Muslims should leave. Right, and if you are a non-Muslim, that means you need to pay, I don't know how many, maybe 10 or 20, I don't know, percentage of tax to these people if you wanted to leave. So that was, so the idea is this, someone who is in power comes and imposes his rules. Yes, so that is what a suzerainty treaty. The third one, a parity covenant. What is parity covenant? It is a mutual and bilateral agreement among equals that reciprocally bound both parties to some course of action. By this very nature, God cannot enter into such covenant agreement with any creature. God has never made any parity covenant, but God's covenants were, most of them were promissory royal grant covenant. Second, some of the covenants can be called as suzerain treaty, right? But it is not really A&E suzerainty, because God always said, this is what you have to do. And God always made sure, this is what I am going to do. So that is the difference of God making a covenant. All right. Now what else to discuss here? Yes.
Pastor,
Go ahead.
at Mount Sinai,
Yeah.
there was a requirement for the people to say, yes, we will follow you.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
How do we understand that?
Yeah, it
It's
was. It was a Mount Sinai. It was a kind of suzerainty treaty, because it is God is making covenant with the people. This is what you have to do, right? And usually, yes, it was written agreement, right? And people have to say yes, right? So this is part of the covenant making style. That's the reason people said yes, exactly. That was the reason, because it was a suzerainty treaty, like a king comes and said, this is what, but God made it sure, unlike other A&E culture, God said what he is going to do. A&E culture had a problem that they never made it, the king will never say what we are obligated, but God said what he is obligated. Yeah, that was a suzerainty treaty. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So because more the Messiah covenant is kind of suzerain treaty, unlike Noahic, Abrahamic, and Davidic covenant. All right. Then I want us to look at here Hebrews chapter 9. So open your Bibles to Hebrews. Hebrews chapter 9. So since it's already there, it's going to be easy for you to read. Hebrews 9, 15 to 17. Anyone? Hebrews 9, 15, 16, and 17.
For this reason, Christ is the mediator of a new covenant, that those who are called may receive the promised eternal inheritance. Now that he has died as a ransom to set them free from the sins committed under the first covenant. In the case of a will, it is necessary to prove the death of the one who has made it, because a will is in force only when somebody has died. It never takes effect while the one who made it is living.
Hmm. All right. So you have, well, okay, you are reading NIV, is that right? So there, brother.
It is NIV.
Okay. Yes. So some other translation you read the death of the testator. What was that from King James? I think I see if I can look at King James. How 9:16 says. Yes, King James says. Let me read it for you. For where a testament is, there must be of necessity be the death of a testator. Did you see that? Death of a testator. Right there you have that idea, death of a testator. And verse 17 says, the testament is, of course, after men are dead. Otherwise, it is of no strength at all while the testator liveth or lives. So, death of a testator. This is a common word that most of the people usually says or preached. Right? Jesus' death was a death of a testator. So, what are we to understand from this passage? All right. What are the things we need to understand this passage? The term is used in a way to suggest that it is the death of the testator, that is Christ, is in view. Right? As such, it is a testamentary covenant. All right? Learn that one? A testamentary covenant. Roughly equivalent to today's last will. Remember? Yeah, writing a will. A document people make, will, or this will is known as testament, right? Testament. So what is the will actually does? It says, after my death, if you know what happens in our culture, after our death, our property or my property will go to such and such persons, maybe my daughter, maybe my wife, and if I don't have children or I'm alone, after my death, my property will go to such person, this charity or whatever. So that is a will, right? A will, all known as a testament. What happens in which the death of one party results in the benefit for another. Death of one party results in benefits of another. Barton Payne argues for the singularity of the covenants, argues Christ, okay, that for the whole covenant of grace, I don't think there's anything. But actually, you want to know what you should understand, what 9 verse 15 and 17 clearly says is that, yes, Christ's death is kind of a last will. Jesus, the covenant that Jesus Christ has made is valid because he's died and everyone gets the benefit. So that is something that you need to understand. It is known as a testamentary covenant in Hebrews chapter 9. And another things, not on conditionality. Yes, a covenant is conditional when it is dependent for its establishment upon man's acceptance of the term. So any covenant is conditional because someone has to accept its terms. So in the sense, Mosaic, Palestinian, or New Covenants are conditional in nature. Conditional in nature. This does not mean, however, when Israel violated the covenant, the arrangements were suspended. Nothing like that, but it is conditional in nature. All right. Another thing to look at, elements of biblical covenant, a clear declaration of scripture that a covenant relationship exists. If you want to learn, if you want to make sure, okay, or if you are saying that there is a covenant, you should see a covenant, right? If you don't see a covenant, don't call everything as a covenant. Second, there should be covenant language, like I will do this. If you do this, there will be divine promises. In case of suzerainty treaties, such and penalties will be provided in the covenant. All right. So what are the covenants now we need to look at? Yes, there are, Noahic covenant is there, Abrahamic covenant is there, Mosaic covenant is there, Davidic covenant is there, New covenants is there. So there is a good number of covenants: Noahic, Abrahamic, Mosaic, Davidic, New covenants in the Bible. All right. Now, covenant theologies would often talks about covenant of redemption, covenant of works, and covenant of grace. That is what covenant theology would say, but that is completely argued from silence. There is no biblical record of the essential elements listed above for any of these 3 covenants that covenant theology would argue. And then I talk here about, okay, was there an Adamic covenant? Was there an Adamic covenant? It looks like there is not an Adamic covenant. It was not a covenant. Of course, covenant theologians see it as a covenant because of the words from Hosea, but we don't see it. And in case if that was a covenant, that was an unusual covenant that you will ever see in the whole of the Bible. Why? Why? It is simply because, this is the point, if it is to be considered a covenant, Adamic covenant, if it is to be considered to be a covenant, it is a covenant unlikely any other in Scripture, standing as wholly conditional suzerainty covenant into which man does not willfully enter. Adam willfully never entered into a covenant in the Garden of Eden. It is for this reason most dispensationalists retreat from identification of the pre-fall divine Adamic relationship as a covenant. Instead, choose to regard this as some kind of arrangement. All right. So I think that's it. Those are the main thing. Okay, one more thing. Was there a Palestinian covenant other than Mosaic covenant? Sometimes dispensationalists think that way. Now, yes, a new material not contained Abrahamic or Mosaic covenant. We don't see something like that. I don't think there was a Palestinian covenant in that way. Maybe it is a restatement of some of the Mosaic covenant is in view. That is what we should see there. All right. Not much. Okay. Israel and covenants, we will look at in the next class.